En su espacio, El Águila y el Oso, Europa, 1947.
I believe that we are going to get along with the Russian people very, very well.
Iron Curtain has descended across the country in immediate and resolute action.
I shall go to Korea.
I am not and never have been a member of the Communist Party.
We shall pay any price, bear any burden, support any friend, oppose any foe. Hell no, we won't go.
We believe that peace is at hand.
Will be regarded as an assault on the vital interests of the United States.
We understand each other better. That's a key to peace.
El Águila y el Oso. Reportajes de la Guerra Fría. Lugar y fecha de origen, Europa, 1947. La Segunda Guerra Mundial había terminado, pero comenzaban a surgir nuevas luchas políticas. Quedaban recuerdos intensos del desastre que casi destruye al mundo. Gran parte de Europa occidental aún permanecía en ruinas. Los signos de devastación estaban por doquier. La aflicción social crecía como resultado del desempleo, las viviendas inapropiadas y la escasez de alimentos.
Yes, World War II is having a long aftermath of misery. There are still hundreds of thousands of displaced persons in dreary camps. Pitiful symbols of man's inhumanity to man.
Europe itself was exhausted by the war. Britain was the only country which had come out unscathed from the war. Well, we were obviously badly damaged by bombing, and we'd lost best part of 1 million men, but nevertheless, we'd never been occupied. Every other European state had been occupied and was in a dreadful state. And there was always a feeling that Europe was so weak that the Russian armies might advance westwards.
The peoples of Europe are tired, disillusioned, bitter. One cause is undoubtedly the overwhelming chaos which faces them on all sides. A perfect setup for ruthless demagogues.
Estados Unidos y la Unión Soviética eran los protagonistas más importantes en el escenario de la posguerra. Supervisaban las secuelas desde extremos opuestos de Europa y buscaban ampliar su esfera de influencia en un mundo de posguerra. En Europa Occidental, las condiciones eran tan desesperadas que el comunismo parecía ofrecer soluciones.
In France, communist-inspired riots broke out all over the country. And in Italy, too, the instructions from the Kremlin were being faithfully followed.
El Partido Comunista parecía dar respuesta a la gran miseria. En otra parte de Europa, las guerrillas que peleaban en una guerra civil recibieron el apoyo comunista.
In Greece, there is civil war to add to the country's misery. Evidence found on captured communist guerrillas proves conclusively that they are receiving aid from Russian satellites.
En películas propagandistas como esta, Estados Unidos mostraba la imagen intimidante de la amenaza soviética.
Greece is a highly strategic area in the program of communist expansion. For if Greece becomes a satellite of the Soviet Union, Turkey will be outflanked. Domination of Turkey is an age-old dream of the Russians, for it would mean control of the Bosporus and the Dardanelles, warm water gateways to every sea lane in the world.
El presidente Truman pensó que Estados Unidos podía encontrar una manera de trabajar con los soviéticos. Los dos países ya habían trabajado juntos como aliados durante la guerra. El presidente creía que podrían trabajar conjuntamente y en paz. Pero para el otoño de 1946, el bloque soviético lo había desilusionado. Clark Clifford era el consejero especial del presidente Truman.
With the Soviets mounting the aggressive expansionism that they were, remember they took all of the nations, took control of all the nations on their western border. And then they began to move into Western Europe. And the pressure increased enormously on Greece and Turkey.
Como resultado, los oficiales estadounidenses se reunieron con los soviéticos para buscar respuestas a las aparentes agresiones.
In talking to Stalin, I said, Mr. Generalissimo, your country and mine work together in war very closely. Why cannot we work together in the same way in peace? He hesitated a moment. He said, well, during the war, we were held together by the tie of a common enemy. That tie will no longer exist.
Aunque ya Europa había recibido más de 5 millardos de dólares en préstamos por parte de Estados Unidos, gran parte de esta suma había sido gastada en emergencias imprevistas.
Truman sent over teams to investigate the food situation in Western Europe. And we were very, very concerned about just the starvation which was imminent in many of the countries that had been on the winning side, and yet their plight was frightful.
Sin duda era necesario un gran programa de ayuda.
I think there was a sense that if the European economies collapsed, this could be devastating for international trade and therefore very tough for the American economy itself.
Además de las preocupaciones económicas, la presencia continua en Europa de los militares estadounidenses era ofensiva para aquellos soldados que querían regresar a casa, así como también para la comunidad europea. El presidente Truman vio la necesidad de designar al soldado de soldados, el general George Marshall, como secretario de Estado en enero de 1947.
In the United States, a new Secretary of State was sworn into office. George Catlett Marshall had been chosen by President Harry Truman to formulate a plan to meet the existing world problems.
El popular general había participado en las victorias estadounidenses durante la guerra y ya había establecido relaciones con los líderes soviéticos.
When Marshall paid his final courtesy call, he said to Stalin, you know, I'm deeply troubled about the condition of Europe. It's serious. We have to do something about it. And Marshall, in effect, Stalin, in effect, patted Marshall on the shoulder and said, don't worry, we'll take care of it. They walked out together toward their car. And just before they entered their car, Marshall stopped and turned to Bolin and said, what do you suppose he meant by that remark? And Chip said to him, what remark? And Marshall said, no, I think he meant exactly what he said.
En la primavera de ese año, el nuevo equipo en el Departamento de Estado diseñó un plan para la reconstrucción.
President Truman thought well of the idea. He did not know whether it was saleable or not, because we'd gone through the trauma of the Second World War, lost hundreds of thousands of our men, spent tens of billions of our treasure. And he just didn't know whether the American people would support it or not.
Los préstamos anticipados para el plan de reconstrucción de Europa fueron bien recibidos.
This obviously was going to be one of the very important accomplishments of his administration, and I hope that it might bear his name. It might be the Truman concept or the Truman approach or something of that sort. And I was much younger then. And he said, no, he said, we have a Republican majority in the Senate and one in the House, and anything that bore Truman's name would be given the deep six. He said it never would get off the ground. So we've got to find a different way to do it.
El Águila y el Oso continuará en un momento.
Usted está viendo en El Águila y el Oso, Europa, 1947. En El Águila y el Oso, Europa, 1947.
Continuamos con El Águila y el Oso. El 5 de junio de 1947, en una ceremonia en la Universidad de Harvard, el secretario de Estado George Marshall expuso su plan para la recuperación de Europa.
It is logical that the United States should do whatever it is able to do to assist in the return of normal economic health in the world. without which there can be no political stability and no assured peace.
Marshall was very highly regarded throughout the country. He was non-political. He'd been one of the leaders that brought us through the war. The president had deep and highest respect for George Marshall. So that's the manner in which the matter was born and the way it came to the light of day.
El Plan Marshall era relativamente sencillo. Estados Unidos proporcionaría asistencia económica y técnica a los países europeos, lo cual les permitiría recuperar su capacidad productiva después de la terrible destrucción de la Segunda Guerra Mundial.
Only out of the profits of their manufactures can the British pay for the food and raw materials which they must import. Moreover, their only hope for attaining a balanced economy is in the building up of their industries. To achieve this, they need help. That's where the Marshall Plan comes in.
Los críticos alegaban que el Plan Marshall era una forma de chantaje político impuesto a la fuerza a una comunidad europea desesperada por un país que deseaba ejercer otro tipo de control.
I would say that there was a widespread perception that the Marshall Plan activity, although from some points of view it looked like the United States merely bailing out Europe, there was a widespread perception that in the long run it would promote long-range American interests.
Deliberadamente, Marshall evitó provocar a la Unión Soviética al ampliar la ayuda a todos los países de Europa Oriental.
Our policy is directed not against any country or doctrine, but against hunger, poverty, desperation, and chaos.
27 de junio de 1947 en París, los ministros de Relaciones Exteriores de Gran Bretaña, Francia y la Unión Soviética se reunieron para considerar la propuesta de Marshall. El 2 de junio, el ministro de Relaciones Exteriores soviético, Molotov, se retiró de la reunión preliminar al considerar que el Plan Marshall era una conspiración imperialista para esclavizar a Europa.
Yeah, Molotov just said no. And he didn't say no once, he said no, no, no. And so we made no progress. And therefore I think everybody became, the Americans as well as the British, became a little bit despairing. They didn't see how we were going to break through this Iron Curtain mentality of the Russians.
Poco después, los demás países europeos del bloque soviético se negaron a participar.
Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, and Albania have become outright satellites of Russia, and all stand behind the same Iron Curtain. We don't know what's cooking there. Not cooperation with the rest of Europe. We're sure of that.
A pesar de la retirada, los representantes de 16 naciones europeas organizaron un comité para la recuperación económica. Redactaron un informe detallado de la ayuda que necesitaban: alimentos, materia prima y asistencia técnica. Este plan se basaba en una cuantiosa ayuda por parte de Estados Unidos, estimada para los próximos 4 años y por un monto comprendido entre los 16 y 22 millardos de dólares. Durante ese verano, Europa había experimentado un trago amargo para prevenir el colapso económico inminente, especialmente en Francia, Italia y Austria. El Congreso de Estados Unidos convocó a una sesión extraordinaria para autorizar la intervención. El presidente Truman hizo una propuesta para el plan de recuperación de Europa. Exigió 17 millardos de dólares en subsidios y préstamos estadounidenses por un periodo de 4 años. En abril de 1948, en Washington, D.C., el Congreso aprobó la Ley de Cooperación Económica, pero no sin suscitar un debate. George Marshall fue invitado a defender su plan.
Why must the United States carry so great a load in helping Europe? The answer is simple. The United States is the only country in the world today which has the economic power and productivity to furnish the needed assistance. The 6 8/10 billion proposed for the first 15 months is less than a single month's charge of the war. To be quite clear, this unprecedented endeavor of the new world to help the old is neither sure nor easy. It is a calculated risk. It is a difficult program. And you know far better than I do the political difficulties involved in this program. But there's no doubt whatever in my mind that if we decide to do this thing, we can do it hangs in the balance as to what it is to be.
Typical reaction of the Americans was with people starving in various parts of the world, you help. You see, you provide the money. That atmosphere was there. In addition, I think there was a general sense, a widespread sense, by 1948, that if Western Europe collapsed, we would face a communist Europe.
Para preservar la causa de la democracia y enviar un mensaje claro desde Estados Unidos a Europa, el presidente Truman hizo historia al hacer ley el Plan Marshall. El águila y el oso continuará en un momento.
Usted está viendo en El Águila y el Oso, Europa, 1947. Continúa en El Águila y el Oso, Europa, 1947.
Continuamos con El Águila y el Oso. Hecho ley en la primavera de 1948, el Plan Marshall autorizó una ayuda de 5.3 millardos de dólares para el primer año. Los otorgamientos directos representaban 7/8 partes del dinero. El resto correspondía a préstamos.
Through the machinery of the Marshall Plan, imports and exports between the participating European nations will be subject to allocation on the basis of need. The margin of requirement that cannot be fulfilled in this way will be supplied from available resources of the United States.
The United States was the richest, the most powerful country in the world. There was a tremendous feeling of confidence in the United States in those days. The United States, during the final stage of the war and in the years after the war, conducted at various levels a policy of enlightened generosity and statesmanship, which I think is completely unparalleled in history.
Durante los siguientes 5 años, 16 países recibirían 13.5 millardos de dólares, aunque mantener el apoyo para esa ayuda era a menudo una pelea.
Senator Vandenberg cajoles the Senate into restoring nearly all Marshall aid cuts made by Congress. He says of the European aid program,
This sounded as though we meant business. I think we did. So did Western Europe. These countries proceeded to seek unprecedented unities in response to our self-help specifications. They accepted our good faith and proceeded to prove their own. They did it at the hazard of serious reprisals when communism declared bitter war upon the enterprise.
El debate continuaría, pero a pesar de todo, el Plan Marshall era considerado como un notable éxito económico. El Producto Nacional Bruto aumentaría en un 25% durante esos años. El objetivo anticomunista establecido en el Plan Marshall también parecía haberse logrado.
Marshall Plan was very positive, and it would be very constructive step toward collaboration between two systems, between East and West. But Stalin policy was not for such collaboration. His first intention was to overrule Eastern Europe.
En Italia y Francia, los miembros del Partido Comunista fueron expulsados gradualmente de los partidos gobernantes. Estados Unidos creía que la prosperidad económica crearía la estabilidad política.
It is hoped that through the workings of the Marshall Plan, politics in France will move away from the dangers of extremism and begin to function with rational give and take. For Italy, we can write the same prescription, modernization of agriculture and industry, and the same hope that when everybody is eating and working, the number of political extremists will be considerably reduced.
En Grecia, con la ayuda del apoyo económico, los comunistas fueron derrotados y se puso fin a la prolongada guerra civil. A pesar de las victorias sobre las fuerzas de oposición soviéticas, el conflicto ideológico entre Europa Occidental y Oriental seguía creciendo. Una de las razones por las cuales muchos europeos criticaban el Plan Marshall era que sentían que el programa aumentaba las tensiones de la Guerra Fría. De hecho, los noticieros de la época ayudaron a intensificar los sentimientos en contra de los soviéticos.
The countries in which communists are in control usually work in close alliance with Russia. Poland, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, Albania, Czechoslovakia. Add to them the Russian zones of occupation in Austria and Eastern Germany. Then add the countries in which communist leaders are bidding for dominance. Italy, France, Greece, Finland. The map tells its own story.
Mientras el Plan Marshall ayudaba a Europa a mantenerse libre para reconstruir y escoger su propio tipo de gobierno, muchos países se sintieron obligados a apoyar una alianza militar dirigida por Estados Unidos. Aunque la ayuda era bienvenida, algunas personas temían que Europa pasara a ser dependiente de Estados Unidos.
I wouldn't say that that was ever part of the Truman objective to bind people to us. I think he believed, as our leaders in government and the executive branch and the legislature did believe, we were doing our best to preserve freedom, and this meant free choice for the Italians, free choice for the Greeks, free choice for all the countries to determine their own government, their own form of government, their own way of life. We weren't binding them to be our satellites. This was the great distinction between the United States and the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was going to have these as their satellites. They're prisoners, literally. That was never the intent in any sense at all of American foreign policy.
El apoyo privado y público en Estados Unidos y Europa ayudó a mantener el Plan Marshall. El plan de recuperación de Europa, a diferencia de los programas anteriores, logró sus objetivos a menor costo y en menos tiempo que el planificado. Marshall recibió los honores, pero la historia reveló que el presidente Truman era la fuerza orientadora detrás del plan de recuperación de Europa.
I believe that Harry Truman's place in history will evolve mainly over the fact that he changed the fundamental foreign policy of the United States. He brought the United States into the 20th century insofar as world impact was concerned. And another significance of it, the policy that he set between 1945 and 50 is the policy that we're following today, 40 years later.
Fue una política que propinó uno de los primeros golpes en la emergente batalla por las esferas de influencia entre el águila y el oso.